And on the strict father model, in his house, or her house, not her house. So the question is, given that we all have both alternatives, how do we make this one the default when you're talking about politics? Here's how. You call it up. You just bring it right up. You ask, who do you care about? I mean, that's a sort of a broadly thing, you know. It's a little impersonal. Who do you care about? Well, let's see, Jack Russell, who invented those terriers, which I love. Then you start to hear about the terriers, and you're like, okay, so what is your responsibility toward your terrier? I gotta feed him. I gotta something. And there's always the 16 walks a day. Otherwise, the guy gets crazy. So, and then, how do you carry out those responsibilities? So when you start asking these sorts of questions that are associated with the nurturing parent model, you get the person, you know, kind of thinking about who do you care about and how do they care for them, and you know, the fact that there is caring, that there is nurturing, that there's feeding, that there's not beating, for God's sake. There's caring, there's empathy, there's the teaching of responsibility. And when you get somebody into that nurturing parent model, then you can really start to talk about how policy can put the legs under that model that we all have, of the unity of America, of the flag flapping in the breeze. The flag ain't about free markets. Actually, Sheila Bair, and she's the former head of the FDIC, just recently retired. Sheila Bair said this about free markets. I thought it was great, and it's a perfect example of this. She said, I'm not opposed to free markets. I just don't want a free-for-all. And that's it. The Republicans, okay, not all the Republicans, but the very conservative Republicans, want that free-for-all. Because the moral structure that stems out of this strict father model, what do you do with that discipline, and how do you improve your moral superiority? The marketplace is the venue for exactly that. So in this structure, the strict father structure, what that means is that the disciplined children are the good ones. And anything that interferes, and the way discipline shows itself is by prosperity. Okay? Starting to come together? So you have your disciplined child, and what you want for your disciplined child in the marketplace is no barriers. No, boy, if I can get what you've got by smarts or by, because I'm tougher. Okay, maybe not you. I'm going to take it. And in the strict father paradigm, that's okay. You think Bernie Madoff is a Democrat? I just bet you every money I ever hope to have that he's a Republican. It's just that he went a little far. He just took it. He didn't like say, okay, well, I have the capital here, so I'm going to take 30% of your labor and acquire it for myself. Thank you very much. The problem we face, the real problem we face, is that they have been doing this deliberately for more than 30 years. For more than 30 years, they have pumped billions, not millions, billions of dollars into the development of think tanks. There are something like 43 Republican think tanks. And they are staffed by people who were recruited in high school and supported through, let's say, Patrick Henry College. Bet you all know about that one. It's almost always on the top 10 academic list, isn't it? Have you ever heard of it? You know why not? It's because it's so far out on the right wing you can't even see it from Wyoming. But they go there and they learn to think the conservative line. And then they go to the think tanks and they publish papers, and the communication staffs of the think tanks make sure that those papers get published in respected journals. If they can't get them published, why, by God, they create some new journals. So where does this take us? It takes us to two places, one of which is a website. George Lakoff, maybe it takes you to the bookstore. This is so freaking simple. This is the book. It ain't a big book, friends and neighbors. And I think it costs about $10 because I keep buying them and giving them away. I keep having to borrow RC's copy because mine has gotten away. You need to read this book. You need to read this book. You need to buy 2 copies and give these copies to somebody else. The name of the book is Don't Think of an Elephant. Know Your Values and Frame the Debate, which is exactly what I've been talking about. Now, this is the other thing I want you to think about. You might have been wondering why I have this name up here, Dakota Meyer. Does anybody know who it is? You do? He is the most recent Congressional Medal of Honor winner. This is the highest award that our country can give in the military. The very top. And notice that it's given by Congress, not the military, not the president. It's the Congressional military, the Congressional Medal of Honor. Dakota Meyer is 23 years old right now. The medal that he received, our nation's highest honor, he got for actions that he took when he was 21 in Afghanistan. He was part of a group that had been called, and now I'm totally paraphrasing this, I know I'm going to get some facts wrong, but you'll get the picture. So he and his unit, or maybe uber unit or something, were called to a village at night to do something military. So they, I sew, you know. But I have guns, so don't be getting any wild ideas. Okay, so they get to the village. Some of them get into the village. Suddenly the lights go out and the shooting starts. It was an ambush. Dakota Meyer, who at that time might have been a corporal, might have been a sergeant. It's a little tough to tell from the what's on the net about it. Said to his commanding officer, said, "No, you're not going in there to get those guys out. Are you kidding me? It'll just be the investment of more resources in a situation that's going south fast. You're not going." He says, oh yes, I am. Those are my brothers out there. Those are my buddies. So he gets another guy who got the Navy Cross, by the way. The other guy gets in a truck. He's the driver. Dakota Meyer is on top of the truck. This is a gun truck with an exposed machine gun position on top of it. So he is sitting on the top of a truck. There's nothing above him, and he's shooting the machine gun to knock back the enemy. He goes in. The first thing he does, get this, the first thing he does, the first people he comes to are 8 Afghans. They're not even Americans. Afghans. They scoop them up. They shove them in the truck. They're back behind the line. They unload them. They go back for another load. They went back 5 times. Before the first run, the exchange between Dakota Meyer and the driver was this: they're going to die out there. Okay, let's go out there and die with them. The last trip, I get on the top about this. The last trip, he picked up the bodies of his 4 close teammates who had died. So it's fascinating that in a culture that is looking at this model as if true, that's what we honor. We honor the guy who said, screw this. That is us out there. I'm going to get us. Us. We're talking that. Oh, yes. And the reason why is because Democrats haven't figured out how to activate this. So now I'm going to call you on your shit. Pardon the French, but there it is. I was listening to the conversation about how the money's going to flow. And I was so struck by how easy it is to be captivated by the idea that competition is the way an individual will succeed best. We've got to have the money in our individual accounts. The fact is that we succeed best the more we work together. Because this is how this kind of a family succeeds. You know, the business of this kind of a family is to raise children who can enter the world and do good. The business of this kind of a family is to create people like from you. That's all I got. Any questions?
I'd like to know how you convince that individual that is voting as the strict father votes. How do you convince him that they are actually voting to hurt themselves and actually to hurt the country? I love your presentation.
You beat the shit out of him. Well, this is an interesting question to me because it iterates the fundamental error in our thinking about this, which comes from the Enlightenment, which was going on like in the 1700s and forward. It was the sort of the philosophical umbrella under which our government was created. And its main tenet is that people act in their own self-interest. And so what you're asking me, I believe if I got you right, is how to show them that the vote that you want them to cast is in fact in their self-interest.
Or I'm talking about somebody who doesn't beat their kids, that takes in, Michelle Bachmann adopted 125 kids.
Mm-hmm.
She's the very worst of all of the people that are promoting the strict father.
That's right. That's right. So why do you
She
think people vote
adopted
for her?
125 of them.
I mean, this is the question at the top of the talk about why do people vote the way they do? Why do they vote against their self-interest? And it's because they don't vote their self-interest. That Enlightenment idea of the reasoned actor is in fact not true. Not true. Did you hear me? Not true. That idea that people vote their self-interest is not true. It is demonstrably, chemically, demonstrably not true. What people vote is either this or this. They vote their values. These are American values. These are antisocial values. We all have both. I mean, let's face it, we got the gimme. You know that TV commercial, the Keebler TV commercial where the kids come home and there's only one cookie left? I'd be out with my knife saying, okay, which half is biggest? All right, you split it, I get to choose. Not it. Not as many cookies as we need. We just have to get together and bake. Anything else?
I'm hoping Elizabeth Warren hit it on the head with her quote the other day that's been widely publicized. Do you think that she's on the right track with how to bring that out?
You know, everything I have ever heard from her makes me just want to kiss her feet.
Yeah.
Because she's like telling the truth about what it is. Thank you all. Thank you all not only for being here, but for the service that you provide, not only to our party, but to our state and to our country. It's very much appreciated, even though the voters hardly ever walk up to a precinct person and say, thank you.